Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are reportedly negotiating a rematch for 2026. And my biggest question is why? Why? Aside from a massive paycheck, the first fight wasn't remotely a competitive event. And if they run it back, I expect it to be even more one-sided. I don't see this ending well at all. For starters, Saul Canelo Alvarez, even after being broken down in September, is refusing to accept the truth. He remains stubborn and vocal that he wants Terence Crawford again, convinced that a healthier arm changes the story, but the analysts are begging him to stop. From Eddie Hearn to Antonio Margarito, the message is loud. Canelo is finished and physically unable to hunt Crawford down. This isn't just a dangerous rematch. It's a suicide mission. And if Canelo walks back into that ring, he may be walking into the end of his career.
Well, it looks like it's the end of an era. Canelo Alvarez spoke about his retirement plans and has confirmed that the end is near and that his time inside the ring is coming to an end relatively soon. Canelo Alvarez said that he is now in the stage wherein he's also thinking a lot about how he wants to focus as well as enjoy the fruits of his labor, not just for himself but for his family as well. The Mexican fighter who made his professional boxing debut at the age of 15 years old and has been professionally fighting for almost 20 years now said the following, and I quote, "From the age of 28 to 29, this is the age where I have felt best. I've always said that at 37 years old is a good age to enjoy what I have done with my family, other things in my career, and that's what I say. But I said I would debut at 18 and I did it at 15. End of quote.
The most alarming wake-up call comes from someone inside Canelo's own sphere of influence, promoter Eddie Hearn. While promoters usually hype anything that generates money, Hearn has been shockingly blunt about why this specific fight is disastrous for the Mexican icon. Hearn recently exposed a harsh truth that Canelo's team has tried to bury. They knew this style was a nightmare for them long before the fight happened. According to Hearn, Canelo isn't just facing a superior fighter. He's facing his stylistic kryptonite. Hearn explained that Canelo's corner understood years ago that Crawford's lateral movement and switch hitting would shut down Canelo's power. It wasn't a bad night, it was a bad matchup. Hearn suggested that Canelo's refusal to accept the biological fact that his legs can no longer match his instincts is blinding him to the danger that awaits him in the rematch.
I believe they have a rematch clause. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of wording because Canelo doesn't enter a fight without some kind of wording in terms of a rematch clause. But he's just not going to beat Terence Crawford. It's the style's all wrong for him, the movement's all wrong for him. And that's what I said. You know, going into the fight, I really believed Crawford would win in the style that he did. And then just as it got a bit closer at the weigh-in, I was like, my heart was like, nah, Canelo's got this, you know. And but deep down, I kind of knew that it was all wrong for him. And to be honest with you, Canelo knew it was all wrong for him. You know, I had the conversation with Canelo Alvarez probably, I don't know, a year ago, about Terence Crawford. And he was like, nah, why would I fight Terence Crawford? Like, you know, he hates that style. And when he fought Charlo, I remember him being really disappointed that Charlo just moved and moved and moved. And that's why he ended up fighting Munguia and Berlanga, because they're guys that wouldn't do that and they'd stand in front of him. And that suits him down to the ground. Anyone that's got movement like Skull, like Crawford, like, you know, he really struggles against. And when he was a bit younger and fresher, he could probably get away with it and cut it off. And, you know, but then you see guys like Bivol and, you know, Crawford and these guys beat him because of that movement. And I don't know what he does again. I mean, you know, the biggest money fight out there for him is the rematch with Crawford.
This goes straight into the physical decline analysts are now openly reporting. The storyline coming from Sports Illustrated and Fan Nation isn't merely that Canelo lost, it's that he became prey for Crawford. The harsh breakdown centers on Canelo's knees. After almost 20 years as a pro, the lack of cartilage has reduced Canelo to a flat-footed pressure fighter. In his prime, he could cut the ring with violent intensity. But when he faced Crawford in late 2025, he looked like he was wading through sand. The experts insist that you can't fix destroyed joints with a training camp. Crawford, who moves like a sprinter, spent the entire fight dragging Canelo across the ring, forcing the bigger man to miss and pay. The conclusion is brutally obvious. Canelo physically cannot move fast enough to land the single punch he relies on to win.
I mean, is it dangerous to Canelo's legacy to lose to the best of this era and the best of the era previously? I don't know. Like, did Canelo ever have an era where he was the best in the world? Maybe that's the question he's still trying to answer himself, and why he would want this rematch with Crawford. But when I see this news coming out of him wanting the rematch, having the elbow surgery, maybe in his mind going, okay, my elbow wasn't fresh, I wasn't able to turn my shots over, so that's why I can win this rematch. I like the competitive nature of it. I don't like the fight for him. I think the matchup's all wrong for Canelo. I think this style of fight, in terms of what Terence Crawford does well, is counterpunching off the front and back foot, his ability to go from range with his jab, be inside with it too, protect himself, catch counter with punches. He's got just a different timing than Canelo really has on his punches, and then you pair it with the volume that Terence Crawford can throw and his feet and his angles. This is the bad matchup for Canelo. We've seen it already, and I just don't know if the rematch goes any differently. I think Terence Crawford would have Canelo in real trouble the second time around. And again, I'm not going to sit here and be like, he'd knock him out cold, because Canelo's got an iron chin, but if he didn't already in the first fight, he would do a number. Texas Instruments 83 plus on Canelo if they rematch. I truly believe that, because I think the matchup's all wrong. I think that both guys learned something about the other in that fight, and the guy that took more away as far as data and things to use was Terence Crawford, because what Canelo brought was the best version of him, and it wasn't enough. And if Terence brought the best version of him and it was enough, because I think both guys brought their best version, but the fight played out how the styles will always match up. Canelo is best when a guy will stand in front of him and go upper body movement, planted feet, let's fight exclusively in the phone book. Terence Crawford is at his best when he can dog walk someone, walk the dog on them literally, have them on a leash, walking around the ring, and then planting his feet, throwing, circling, feinting off the back foot, then coming back, counter punches. He has every tool in the shed. And I think skill-wise and stylistically, Canelo.
But if the physical decline wasn't brutal enough, former champion Antonio Margarito has stepped in with a forecast that should terrify Canelo. Margarito, who understands violent wars, believes the rematch will be significantly easier for Crawford. The reasoning is what insiders call the solved puzzle principle. In boxing, once a master like Crawford downloads the code on an opponent, they rarely struggle again. Margarito claimed that Crawford has already decoded Canelo's rhythm, his feints, and his power. There is nothing new to adjust to. Margarito stressed that because Canelo cannot reinvent his style at this stage, he is essentially walking into a massacre where Crawford knows every move he intends to make before he even initiates it.
¿Qué me dice de la gran pérdida que tuvo México ahorita ante Terence Crawford en parte de Canelo? Una pérdida muy dura para el boxeo mexicano, pero ¿qué piensa usted de eso? ¿Qué pasó ahí esa noche?
Sí, mira, realmente yo siempre lo he dicho, ¿no? Realmente, mira, yo siempre lo dije que Canelo pues aprendió mucho, y la verdad digo mis respetos, ¿no? Pero creo yo, sinceramente, pues que Canelo realmente pues escogían rivales para poder que se viera ganador él. Yo sé que arriba del ring no sabemos qué pueda pasar, ¿no? Pero realmente yo creo que no peleó con los mejores para mí, ¿no? Y realmente yo creo que Crawford pues tenía el estilo para ganarle. Y sinceramente me han preguntado, y yo pienso realmente que en una revancha le gana más fácil Crawford a Canelo. Digo, desgraciadamente pues es mexicano, ¿no? Y haz de cuenta, a veces pues tengo problemas con los mexicanos, pero realmente yo es lo que yo pienso, ¿no? del boxeo de Canelo.
Yeah, Canelo is a good fighter, and he learned a lot. I knew it was gonna be a tough fight, but I knew Crawford was gonna win, and I was going for the Mexican because I'm Mexican, of course. But Canelo used to choose his fighters, but this time he couldn't do that.
In the rematch, he thinks Crawford can beat him easier, huh?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be easier for Crawford to beat him.
Yeah.
Yet the warnings aren't simply tactical. They are becoming aggressively personal. The hostility between both camps has reached a volatile level, particularly from Crawford's trainer, Brian "Bomac" McIntyre. Bomac isn't just telling Canelo to stay away. He's issuing threats. After the first fight, Bomac was caught on video yelling, "For all that shit, if you cross the line again."
You know, I felt like I was in control. You know, I think he was trying to figure me out.
Did you feel that you were frustrating him? He tried to lift you up, he headbutted you. Were you sensed?
This animosity comes from the perceived disrespect aimed at Crawford both before and after the fight. Crawford's team believes Canelo tried to big-time them in negotiations and is now attempting to undermine the defeat. When a coach like Bomac takes things this personally, the mission shifts from winning rounds to inflicting punishment. The message is direct. Crawford won't just look to outbox Canelo in a rematch. He will look to damage him to send a message to the opposing corner.
You know, there was this big blow-up thing, like, I was scared of him. And that's why I ain't scared of shit. You know what I mean?
Blow up thing.
Yeah, because he was just like, you know what I mean? He said he didn't say it, you know, but they was saying in the
Took
back
that personal.
that yeah, like I'm scared of him. I'm like, scared of you? Like, me? Oh man. So I'm like, when this bell ring, I'm coming right at him. Coming right at him. You know, and just let him know that I'm gonna be here all night. I ain't going nowhere.
Talk me to the fight.
So, you know.
In spite of everything, Canelo is holding on to a single justification for running it back: his elbow. After the loss, reports emerged that Canelo underwent surgery in late 2025 and that the injury limited his performance. He insists that a healed arm changes the outcome, but Ring Magazine and other top experts dismissed this instantly. They argue a healthy arm doesn't fix slow legs. The W80 breakdown stated that Canelo was flat-out outboxed, not overpowered. He missed the target because he couldn't close distance, not because he couldn't punch. By obsessing over the injury, Canelo is falling into a classic fighter's illusion, believing a minor physical adjustment can erase a massive strategic gap. It's a dangerous fantasy to hold while signing on to face the pound-for-pound king.
Like I said, the Ring Magazine reporting as of about 4 days ago now, I'm a little late to the news, but Canelo Alvarez wants Terence Crawford rematch, says negotiations are underway for 2026. Now, first off, I expect nothing less from Canelo. He wants to get that fight back because, well, number one, it's a somewhat advantageous matchup at 168 for him, and there's not many other matchups at 168 for Canelo right now that offer him any sort of advantages. Imagine you try to put him in there with the Hamza Shiraz or someone with a bigger frame, longer, taller. I mean, even David Benavidez, before he went and knocked out and absolutely smoked Anthony Yarde, was saying, you know, I'm still entertaining the potential of a Canelo fight. There's not many other people at 168. I mean, maybe if you did Chris Eubank Jr., but after he loses to Conor Benn, what does that fight really even mean? Canelo says, I want my run back. I want my get back, but I gotta be honest, I don't know how this goes well for Canelo in a rematch. Honestly, you look at the first fight, and the things that plagued Canelo were essentially the things that plague him against most boxers. His flat feet, his lack of movement, his lack of volume. He couldn't get to Terence. He was overextending. He was getting caught with counter shots as he overextended. The big shown around, memed, and replayed moment of the fight is Canelo trying to throw a hook and a right hand, and Terence Crawford slipping on the outside and banging the left-hand counter behind it. Canelo was beaten to the punch from distance. He was beaten in exchanges, and even at points in the fight, he was beaten inside.
What makes this denial even more hazardous is Crawford's current mentality. Terence Crawford is furious. Instead of receiving universal respect for jumping 2 divisions and dismantling boxing's biggest star, he's hearing excuses. He's hearing Canelo was finished, aged, or compromised. In recent interviews with Fight Hub TV, Crawford snapped at these claims, visibly irritated that his dominance is being downgraded. He openly declared that he is physically stronger than Canelo and that the size disparity was exaggerated. A motivated, angry Crawford who believes his legacy is being disrespected is the worst possible version to face. He wants to prove the first fight wasn't a fluke or a product of Canelo's decline, which means he may take reckless risks chasing a knockout in the rematch just to shut the critics up.
To be honest, when I set my sights on doing something and I know what I'm capable of, it's not like a surprise to me. It's a surprise to y'all because y'all didn't believe me, you know? But for me, I knew I could do it, and I believed that I could do it. I just needed the opportunity.
Terence, when did you know that you were going to beat him? Over here on your left.
When he signed the contract.
He seemed to focus mostly on body punches, and you were hitting him in the head a lot. Was it your reach that gave you the advantage?
It was everything. You know, he wasn't hitting the body or anything. He was hitting my elbow because I was blocking it. But, you know, I think I was the better man tonight.
What was that moment where you were pushed aside by the ring and they suspended they called the timeout for a second and then started the fight again in the middle? I think it was the 7th inning.
Well, I got headbutted. I got cut. I got to go get stitches. You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, yeah. He headbutted me. So I got to go get...
In the end, the boxing community is watching a legend potentially make the worst decision of his career. The money for a 2026 rematch is undeniable, likely breaking financial records. But the cost to Canelo's legacy could be permanent. Analysts have spelled it out with clarity. The stylistic matchup is unwinnable. The physical decline is irreversible. and the opponent is only improving. Canelo Alvarez has spent his life overcoming odds. But this time, the odds aren't just stacked against him, they are insurmountable. Fans are left wondering whether they're witnessing a courageous champion seeking redemption or a stubborn ruler being escorted to the guillotine for one final enormous payout. YouTuber Showbiz recently voiced his perspective on the rematch.
We all know Terrence Crawford whooped that man's ass 11 rounds to 1 in reality, all right? But if you count, punches, landed or copied by, statistically, technically, it was a closer fight, okay? Now, Saul Canelo Alvarez also, last time you saw him, he's, nursing and recovering from an elbow surgery, which he had an elbow injury going into the fight. So, you start thinking about stuff like that. I'm talking about if you Canelo, why would you say, let's go ahead with the rematch. I think I got a shot. All right, being a competitor for one. All right, and number two, the fight was closer technically than you thought because you were in there, and in there you felt like you were getting your ass whipped. And number three, you went in there nursing an elbow injury. So it's like, I think I may have a chance if I'm 100% healthy. All right. He feels the same way about Bivol because he had a wrist injury going into the Bivol fight. So it's just, you think about all those things.
Trainer Robert Garcia also believes a rematch is beneficial not only for Canelo, but for the entire fan base.
He needs to make a change, I think. I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit, but don't give up. Keep going until you hit him.
That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming content. And don't forget to share your opinions in the comments below. Stay tuned, and we will see you in the next one.